I know. Ceramic hot peppers don't exactly scream Calgary, and that's because we're not in Calgary. We're in a very cool place, Santa Fe, New Mexico. I've always wanted to come here. Such a beautiful city. We're actually here for another episode of Trail Camera. This is our sort of traveling road trip show. Love doing that, but while we're here, seeing all these beautiful sights, I want to review some gear, and I've got a really interesting camera here. This is the new Lomography MC-A, a full-frame 35mm film camera. I'm Chris Niccolls. This is PetaPixel. We're going to be on an analog adventure. Running a photography business is a dynamic environment, but it can be challenging having to sort through endless emails and juggle scheduling conflicts, and the worst part, chasing down invoices. VSCO Workspace helps you, the photographer, work less but book more and stay on top of your busy schedule. And it's got great automation. I mean, clients can basically go online, they can book sessions, they can sign contracts, and they can also pay their invoices. You get a dedicated dashboard so that you can drive your business and see how it's progressing. There's great smart automations that will handle all the busy repeat work. And clients get their own dashboard. It's one link. They've got all their quotes, all their schedules, all their invoices in one place so they know what's coming up next. You get online scheduling, so there's none of that back and forth, and everything is synced up properly. VSCO Workspace helps you build a photography business that works for you. So whether you're doing weddings or portraits or studio work, or maybe you're just starting out, if you want to try it for free with no credit card required, click the link in the description below. Now, I don't know about you guys at home, but I am very curious to play with this camera because look, my past history with Lomography is kind of mixed. I mean, they make some interesting instant cameras. They've always had this sort of fun analog approach to photography, but I've also played with some cameras like the LCA. It's very pertinent to this conversation because it's a more basic approach to this kind of camera. But I found it kind of rickety and kind of difficult to get a good grasp on. I mean, it's got zone focusing only, and it always felt a little bit weird, a little bit cheap, didn't look very refined, and it didn't have a lot of manual control. And so I'm very curious if this is going to be better. This promises to have a lot more capability. It's an autofocusing camera, and it really does look nice. So let's get down to grips with this camera and see if it can deliver. The first thing you notice about the Lomo LCA is that it doesn't feel like a toy camera at all. It actually feels very refined, beautiful design. I like the little grip on here. It's quite comfortable to hold. This is only 323 grams, so it's very easy to travel with. Could even fit in a larger pocket, easy to carry around all day, but it does have a lot of manual controls. So first off, I'm gonna start with the top of the camera here because I love that we get a proper exposure compensation dial. It actually has quite a bit of resistance, so I don't feel like I've ever moved it or bumped it by accident. We also have an aperture priority based metering system, but I've also got manual control from 1 second to 1/500th of a second, and there's even a bulb mode if I want to go longer. The on-off dial is nice. I don't feel like I'm going to accidentally flick it. It hasn't turned on in my camera bag or anything like that. But what is cool is this has both manual focus using some zones here in the front. I actually collect my distance from 0.4 meters to infinity. You got about 5 settings in between there, but I also have autofocus. This uses LiDAR to autofocus, and so far it seems to really go to central subjects really well. I've been relying on it. It's been doing a good job. On the top of the camera as well, I also have this nice LCD panel. This gives me an update of my flash situation, what exposure I'm on, all this kind of stuff, my shutter speed, my aperture. It's all really nice there. And I can set my self timer, my flash control, and my ISO if I want to right on here. This can also read DX ISO. So if I want to rely on that automatically, I can. It doesn't end there though. If you want to play around with some more fun stuff, there is a multiple exposure control on here. I've also got a battery source here, which is CR2 batteries, but in North America, they actually give you a rechargeable lithium CR2, plugs right into USB-C. Awesome. I'm really liking that. Proper tripod socket. I get this big rewind knob on the bottom, and it all fits and feels very nice. My loading is manual. I've got a locking switch here on the side, then I could load my film, but that brings me to the best part. Thumb winder. This actually has a proper thumb winder. This reminds me a lot of the Mint 35 that I played with that also has that tactile control, and it's just fun. It gives you a camera that just feels like you're using a vintage camera, but with some really nice features as well. Now the lens, let's talk about the lens. We get a fixed 32mm, that's not 35mm, f2.8. This is the Lomo Minotaur version 2. Now, what's cool about this lens, it goes flush with the body till you turn it on, then it pops up just a little bit, But you can put filters on here, 30.5 millimeter filter thread mount. One thing to keep in mind though, if you do put filters on here, it doesn't meter through the lens. So if I was gonna use like a red filter, orange filter, I would have to accommodate that filter factor. That's kind of annoying. But when you turn the lens on, it also does give you access to the aperture ring. And this is cool because I can either have this as an aperture priority camera, just set the shutter speed dial to auto, and then I can change this myself, or I can put it to the P setting, have this in A, and it's program mode, or if I want, I can go fully manual if I want to as well. One thing I would consider screwing into the front of this though is a hood, because what I am finding is, although this lens is quite sharp, it does have quite a bit of flare. You might like that. I mean, it's absolutely noticeable. You're gonna get flare, you're gonna get ghosting, but it's pretty cool. The other thing I will say, a little bit of vignetting on this lens when you're shooting at f2.8, but it kind of fits with the character of this whole thing. So the viewfinder, actually pretty bright, nice and contrasty here, and it's basically the whole frame as my lens. Seems to be fairly accurate. For close-up though, it's a very basic parallax correction. You'll just see a different top frame, so I just gotta raise my viewpoint up a little bit, and that accommodates for the lens being down below, especially if I'm doing a close-up shot or something like that. Works okay. What I don't get a lot of in the viewfinder, and I didn't really expect on a camera like this, is a lot of information for the exposure. I mean, basically, if I want to know what shutter and aperture I'm gonna get, especially in the automatic modes, of course, it's only gonna tell me that on the LCD on top. So what I'm finding is I'm getting my frame, focusing the lens, and then looking at the top to see, oh, do I like that shutter speed and aperture? So the only feedback that I actually do get through the viewfinder is the appearance of this little orange LED that might show up if there's an issue. So if I'm in an automatic mode, it'll show up if it feels the shutter speed is fairly slow, maybe below the threshold for hand holding, just as like, heads up, maybe use a tripod or be really, really stable. But if I'm in a manual mode, it will also go up if it's not giving me an ideal exposure. Again, I don't see anything for the viewfinder, but on the top of the screen, I get arrows saying bring your exposure down, or arrows saying put your exposure up, and then when I get my exposure in a ideal spot, I get basically 2 arrows. So that's the only feedback I get. So yeah, it slows you down a little bit. On a point and shoot camera like this, I didn't expect much more, but just keep that in mind. Whoa, got him. So this electronic flash is going to give you that look that we're always seeking with point and shoot cameras, that kind of stark look. And you can actually put little gel filters in, they slot right inside, which is really cool. It comes with the camera. So I tried some here on my daughter Maddie. You can see the orange filter just gives like a nice overall warm glow, and then the red filter as well, which matched the red light was there, but it also gives a lot of red eye, not the filter, but just the fact that the flash is so close to the lens. However, we also have right under here in the strap a PC sync port, and there's no hot shoe, so I thought I would try this actually with professional studio flashes and see what we can get. We're gonna do a little bit of time travel. It's gonna be later on, but let's go to that next. All right, guys, so I want to try a crazy experiment here. So as I mentioned, the Lomo MC-A does not have a hot shoe, but I have an incredibly short PC sync cable. I'm just gonna hold this really close. It'll be kind of like on-camera flash, but with a nice big softbox. And I brought the Westcott FJ200 out here. This is ideal for travel because, look, I can pack this in my suitcase, but I can still get nice light. So we got a beautiful sunset, as you can see back there. I'm gonna try to get those clouds. Gonna light up Michael, because otherwise he's gonna turn out like completely in shadow. You know, the nice thing is this Lomo MC-A, this has got a leaf shutter, so I should be able to sync my flash up to 500th of a second, no problem. But you know, right now I'm at 60th of a second, I'm shooting about 5.6. This is dialed in at just not even full power. I mean 200 watts, but I don't need to use it all. It's going through this rapid box switch Octa S, and it's working great. Nice. Beauty. All right, guys, I mean, if you want to get yourself a very portable flash setup that you can hold with your hand, take out anywhere, travel and fly with, Westcott FJ200, fantastic. The rapid box switch Octa S goes down nice and small, easy to transport. You can get this at fjwestcott.com, check it out, or link in the description below. We're gonna have all the gear that we used here for today, but they make fantastic stuff. I love how portable it is. That is why they're PetaPixel's preferred lighting gear partner. So this autofocus that I'm using, it really is focused on a central point. So you definitely want to do this sort of central lock. You get a blue little light, recompose, bam, and hope for the best. Oh, I love that thumb winder. maybe the best photo I've ever taken in my entire life. So while the PetaPixel crew traipses around Santa Fe here, high altitude, crystal clear day, bright sunny day, sunburns happening as we speak, it does remind me of a point I want to make here. On cameras like this, especially film cameras where I can't change the ISO or on a regular basis, 500th of a second maximum shutter speed. I'm using 200 ISO film in here right now, which is, about right for a day like this. I gotta watch my apertures. If I shoot at f2.8 or f4, something like that, I'm gonna get way too much exposure. I cannot go to 1000th or 2000th or 4000th of a second to block that extra light. So consider, ND filters, or I'm gonna be shooting at f11, f16. I just have to remind myself, oh yeah, consider using slower apertures on a regular basis on this camera. So I think one of the most important factors on enjoying a camera like this is the sort of experiential feel of just the sounds and, like the thumb winder and just the whole tactile control of it. And so I want to touch on that next. So first off, the autofocusing. It makes that charming old school motor noise. Love it, right? It does attract a little bit of attention for sure. And when you take a picture, it does give you that clickety-clack shutter sound, but I really like it. It reminds me of using an old school film camera, and I just enjoy that. The thumb winder itself, awesome. It doesn't feel loose. It doesn't feel silly. I mean, it's giving me a really positive lock there, just one turn to advance a full frame of film. However, there is one thing you do have to keep in mind. And it even says this in the manual. When you take a shot, make sure that you click it and then just pause to first off make sure that a longer exposure has finished, but also if you go too quick off that shutter, sometimes it skips a beat and it doesn't fully advance the frame. And you can see here, I had a couple shots in a row where I was shooting quickly and it actually kind of overlapped the frames, and that sucked. Eventually, it did correct itself, but just get into this more slower, more thoughtful process. Taking a shot, waiting, and then winding with your thumb. But I love the feel. So right here on the top of the Lomo MC-A is this cute little quote here. Everybody's equal before the lens and behind it. I'm Chris Niccolls. I don't know, but it's a nice message because basically it's saying photography is for everyone. And I think that's a beautiful message here because this camera can really bring a lot of photographers into the analog field and also having fun with manual control. I actually really enjoyed my experience with this, and I think a big part of that is Lomo has made the MC-A to be a more refined shooting experience. And actually price-wise, this is going to be a little bit more expensive than a basic point and shoot, but I do think it's worth the extra cost considering just how much fun you can have with this and how much capability it has. And let's consider, the closest competition to this, I know earlier in the video I probably said Rollei 35. I should have said Rollei 35, I get it, but that camera has a very similar shooting experience to this. Fixed lens, nice styling, thumb winder, tactile experience, but that camera is quite a bit more expensive. So in the end, I think this price is appropriate. It's a lot of fun. I hope you guys enjoyed this video as much as I enjoyed shooting this camera. Leave your comments below. Let us know what you think. I always appreciate the feedback. And we're going to talk about this and many more products on the PetaPixel podcast. You can listen to it on all your favorite podcasting apps or watch us on this YouTube channel. It's right there. And hey, while you're at it, definitely consider supporting the channel with a PetaPixel.com membership. You get all these amazing benefits. It's only $3 a month or $30 a year, and it really helps us out to bring special projects right to you there at home. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you soon with more on PetaPixel.